So a new Scream movie has just been released in theatres and it was, let's just go with mid. The moment I saw this trailer, I immediately knew it was going to pay some form of homage to Friday the 13th Part 8 Jason Takes Manhattan. You know, from that time when we were just getting those films at the same pace as Saw movies. Now if you follow me on here or if you know me personally, then you will know that I absolutely love horror. It's easily one of my favourite genres. Oh wow, a film YouTuber with the love of the horror genre. Never seen that before. Horror has different eras that are often in response to different issues surrounding the time. Like for example, 80s slasher flicks were in response to public fears surrounding serial killers in the 70s. The Scream franchise took all of those ideas and fears and took the piss out of them. And frankly, why wouldn't they? Honestly, I'm amazed that they didn't take time out to mock found footage. Personally, I loved the Scream movie that came out last year. It was a satirical take on the rebranding of the film series relating to the genre, meaning that it was most likely inspired by the recent batch of Halloween movies, especially with the callbacks to the original killing spots and returns of well-known characters. Please give Jamie Curtis a break, for the love of God! Scream 6 takes place roughly a year and a half after the last entrance in this series and focuses on the main character Sam and her sister moving to New York City to start off a new life. However, they discover, much to their shock, that the Ghostface killings have started again. And also, they've spawned copycat killings, and of course they play off of traditional horror movie tropes, which leads to one of the few forms of bullying and mockery that I wholeheartedly endorse. The kind against film students. Oh, you saw Birdman and Koyaanisqatsi when you were 17? Oh, I bet you're some kind of film connoisseur. Did you watch Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho when you were in university and think it was the greatest thing you'd ever seen? I can say these things because I actually was a film student at one point. Not just in an undergrad, but a postgrad. In my opinion, the reason why Scream 6 is largely mid is because we're not just starting to see tropes from the horror franchise be repeated over and over again, but also ones from the Scream franchise. We're slowly starting to see unoriginality creep its way back in, and it's getting a bit frustrating. There were some good parts to this though. For example, they made fun of the stereotypical sequel rule, which states that you need to up the ante with the follow-ups by increasing the location, stakes, and number of characters. And what better way to do that than to switch from Woodsboro to New York City? We all saw the train scene in the trailer and how it has flickering lights. In the film, that's a really good moment and you genuinely didn't know what was going to happen next. Now, I'm not a fan of upping the ante sometimes, but occasionally it can work. There's a sort of cult of personality developing around the Ghostface killer and it adds more to the story, like you have an entire room full of Ghostface models. Speaking of which, there's a side plot involving Sam's urges from the last movie coming back. Billy Loomis continues to loom over her and it leads to some interesting character development. It's as if she's resisting the urge to become a serial killer, and this plot point is obviously going to be touched on in the follow-up because, let's be honest, everything nowadays has to come in threes. And I'll bet you anything that that trope is going to be brought up in Scream 7. Alongside that, being in New York City can lead to some very interesting hunts and they were very entertaining at times. Okay, I'm going to delve into quick spoiler territory here because I feel like I can't actually talk about this without mentioning spoilers, so if you don't want that ruined for you then please skip to this part of the video. Now with that being said, this film does have its problems. It wouldn't exactly be a spoiler if I said that Scream movies normally have 2 killers. Well, I worked this one out pretty quickly. It wasn't that hard to put 2 and 2 together. And I say that because it wasn't exactly going to be one of the 4 survivors from the last movie, was it? You could say that a lack of subversion of expectations has become a part of the genre and that's why they had to do it, but after a while you kinda just need to start getting original. That ties into my main complaint about this movie. There's way too much over-reliance on meta-humor and references, like if a character doesn't die on screen, they're not actually dead, or don't walk into an empty alley, especially if you're a woman. There were times where this did feel like too much, and much like the entirety of Independence Day Resurgence, my suspension of disbelief can only stretch so far. Please don't misinterpret that as me saying that Scream 6 is just like Independence Day Resurgence. That movie is awful and deserves to die with the rest of Roland Emmerich's filmography. Meta-humor is a big thing in pop culture nowadays, with Community and Rick and Morty playing a huge role in that. However, you don't want to become too reliant on it lest you end up failing at social commentary. So overall, I would say that Scream 6, despite its flaws, is an alright movie. Like, I wouldn't mind if I was over at a friend's place and they decided to put this on for background noise. Hey everyone, hope you enjoyed this video. This isn't exactly something new that I'm doing on this channel. I've decided to bring back recent release reviews because I do enjoy making content on this channel and I'd want to put something up that's more than every 3 months. By the way, I am currently editing a new essay. It's on Morbius and the impact that it had on the internet for pretty much the entirety of 2022. Stay tuned for when that comes out, because believe me when I say that you are really gonna want to watch it. Okay, see ya, bye!